Christians murmuring about their imperfections and their failures and their addictions and their shortcomings. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Why am I this way? Make war!
Coming at you from North Texas, I'm your host, Blindx, coming from you from the Inside Out podcast of redemption. Today we have a special guest. He's a friend of mine, a really good friend of mine. His name is Chad Ganaway. He'll be coming on in just a second. If you can, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Also, we're on all platforms. So just look us up. I really appreciate to everybody out there. I really thank y'all for helping us out. All right, today we have our guest, Chad. He'll be joining us right now. Come on, Chad.
How's it going?
What's up, my brother?
Oh, not much. Just chilling. How about yourself?
Doing the same thing over here, brother. This is Chad Ganaway, guys. He's 48 years old. He's married to Chelsea Ganaway. He has one daughter. She's 14. Is that correct, Chad? Because it's the same as my son, right? The same, yeah.
Yeah, you gave me an extra year though. I'm 49, so thanks for making me younger.
we'll do that then. 48, 49 gonna be. We'll make them younger. We all need a little young in us. But yeah, Chad, I know you've been in coaching for 28 years. Coach for gymnastics, is that correct? What do you?
Yeah, trampoline and tumbling. I moved to Victoria and started a trampoline and tumbling program in 1997.
Okay. Well, were you born and raised at, Chad?
Hobbs, New Mexico. Born and raised in Hobbs.
Okay, and you were you raised with your both parents, one parent?
Yeah, both my parents.
Okay.
Both my parents and two siblings. I have a brother and a sister that's about 3 years younger than me, and my brother's about 6 years younger than me.
Oh, okay, good deal. And I know Hobbs from the days that I was up there for not only car dealerships, but and the bad things I was doing with the mafia. So
yeah, I've always found this interesting. I'm pretty sure I've told you this before, but you have that connection to Hobbs, and then the day that you went through what you went through was actually my brother's birthday, September 8th.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. That's and so how was your childhood, Chad, when you're growing up? Like how was it back then, and when you're school elementary school on up to high school?
My childhood was great. I had a great family. My parents were just working class people. My mom worked at First Supermarket. My dad was a machinist in the oil field. We didn't have a lot of money, but we had enough for to do the things we needed to do. They worked their butt off to keep us in whatever we wanted to be in. I pretty much played sports my whole life. I've always been into sports. I've probably been watching the NFL since I was 4 years old. Always been a big sports fan. Played basketball, baseball, football, soccer. I did all of it. And then in 1984, Mary Lou Retton won the gold in the USA in the Olympics. She won the gymnastics gold. And so shortly after that, my parents decided to put me and my brother and sister in a gymnastics program in Hobbs. So I started that gymnastics program probably about 9 years old, maybe 8 or 9 years old. And I did all around gymnastics for a year. And then my coach ended up switching from gymnastics to just power tumbling. So he went into just teaching power tumbling. So me, my brother and sister, we both competed in power tumbling. I probably competed in power tumbling up until about 12. once I got around junior high, I got out of tumbling and just focused strictly on sports.
Sports, yeah. And how was your high school years? I know Hobbs is a pretty rough. It's a pretty rough city.
Yeah, I guess I'll kind of, because I come from a legacy of faith. My nana, May Snowden, she was a very, I guess the best way to describe my nana was she was the most Christ-like person I've ever seen in my life. You know, she was just a very compassionate, loving person. She didn't beat you over the head with it, but she always reminded you that God was in control and that trust in God and everything would work out, you know. And so she lived that. She didn't just preach it, she lived it. So I grew up with that in my life, and so she would take me to church. We didn't go to church very much as a family, but my nana would come and pick me. I mean, we did off and on. But by the time I was an elementary kid, my parents had kind of been, you know, they kind of had been in a situation to where they were in churches to where, you know how the devil works, man. He comes in and breaks churches, and they kind of got just a bad taste in their mouth, and so we just really didn't have a church. But my nana would come and pick me up, and I went to a First Assembly of God church in Hobbs, and so in third grade, I remember me, her, and the pastor sitting down in First Assembly of God and me telling them that I wanted to get saved. And I remember the pastor like, "Are you sure? Do you even understand this? You're a little bit too young." And I'm like, "No, I get it. I want to be saved, you know?" Yeah. So in third grade is when I first accepted Christ in my life. You know, just lived like a normal kid. And then right before I went to Hobbs High School, and in New Mexico, we do junior high, 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. High school starts in 10th grade. So my 9th grade year, me and my youth group, we went to a church camp at Baylor University. Oh, wow. And I remember that was one of the first times that I had really just had the Holy Spirit poured out on my life. And I remember making a commitment to God, saying, "Man, I'm going to serve you. This is what I'm going to do." And that was pretty short-lived because I come back, I start Hobbs High School, and as soon as I started Hobbs High School, everything took a left turn.
It's tough over there.
And so, yeah, you know, high school, I started kind of looking up to the more popular kids, and really, like, my biggest desire was to be like those kids. I wanted to hang with those kids. Yeah. And, you know, which that want to in my life led me down the path of partying, and you know, we went to parties out in Hobbs. There ain't a lot of options, so you go out into an oil field pit somewhere with a bunch of caliche surrounding you. Yeah, you bring a keg and it's on until the shots start. And in Hobbs, I never attended a party, and this is no lie, I never attended a party that didn't end in one of three ways. Either shots were fired, somebody got knocked out and was on the way to the hospital, or we were running from the cops. Those were the three things that happened at every single party, no matter what. So, you know, so ultimately, you know, that lifestyle led me to right where I thought I was supposed to be at. I was right there with all the popular kids. We were partying. We were having a great time. And during that time period, you know, the gangster life was what was being, the West Coast thug life and stuff was what was being popularized on the global scene, or on the, not global, I guess, but the United States. I mean, that was a big thing. And in Hobbs, we didn't have a whole lot, you know, so everybody latched onto that. So everybody had this thug life, gangster mentality or whatever, you know, trying to prove a point. Everybody had a chip on their shoulder. I just wanted to be this, you know, this hardcore thing. Me personally, I was never like that, but I wanted to fit in with that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. Like I didn't, like my friends, there was this one time, man, I'll never forget, man. My friends, we were cruising through the neighborhood, drinking, smoking Indo, sipping on gin and juice. And there was this not right fella, a slower guy, just walking down the street minding his own business, and my friends pulled over and got out and just beat the hell out of him, just for fun. Yeah. And like I remember that feeling I had in my spirit that, man, I wasn't about that, you know. I didn't even get out of the car. I couldn't even get behind that, but I wanted that popularity so bad that I was willing to put myself and pretend that I was that so I could have what I wanted, you know. Mm-hmm. So that ultimately led to my senior year, where me and my buddy, we had skipped school one day to watch Menace to Society, because Menace to Society had come out, and I'd already seen it, but my buddy, he had never seen it yet. And I'm like, dude, you ain't seen it yet? I mean, it only been out like 2 days, but so I said, well, you know, we had a half day at school that day. So I tell my buddy, I'm like, dude, let's just, and we had a ski trip planned to New Mexico, to Ruidoso. We had been me and a big group of guys had been planning to go skiing in Ruidoso for like months, you know. This happened in January of '94, our senior year, right when we returned from Christmas break. So this day, everybody was getting out of Hobbs early that day, out of school. And I told Eddie, my buddy Eddie, I convinced him to stay home and let's watch Menace to Society before we go to Ruidoso. Yeah. So me and Eddie, we stay home to watch Menace to Society, and he had just bought like a 9-shot 22 pistol. He had hollow points in there. He had been practicing with it, right? Yeah. So he had that gun on him. And we were after Menace to Society, we were just going to go ahead and head up to Ruidoso, but there was a girl who had told us that she would let us use her ski bibs, so we didn't have to rent any. Yeah. So we're like, all right, let's cruise around until everybody's out of school, then we'll get the ski bibs, we'll head to Ruidoso. Yeah. So we're driving through Hobbs, and we pass by the girls we're supposed to meet up with. They motion us to follow them. So we turn around and follow them, and we go to Sonic. We pull into Sonic, and I mean, that day at Sonic, everybody was there. The cowboys, the nerds, the gangsters. And so my group was the gangster group. We had a group probably of 25 to 30 black, white, Mexican dudes, had music pumping, just chilling, just hanging out, right? Yeah. Well, then all of a sudden, this car pulls through with 4 dudes in it, and they start throwing up blood signs out the windows. Like, what up, blood? What up, blood? Directed at my group of 25 or 30 standing there. Yeah. Well, they pull around the building, and they come to a stop probably about 60 to 70 yards from where our group was standing. And they got out, and they started walking over towards us with their hands in their pants like they had guns, right? Yeah. Well, the group I ran with, they were so crazy, they just instantly charged these dudes, right? Yeah. Well, the dudes didn't have guns because they turned around and took off running. As soon as we charged, they turned and took off running. So they're running. All I remember is seeing rocks fly through the air because my dudes were picking up rocks, chunking rocks at these dudes. And then all of a sudden, the next thing I know, my buddy Eddie's down, just pow, 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 shooting that 22, right? And I'm just like, oh, damn. I saw all the bullets. They were hitting this caliche dirt, and I could see him. He wasn't shooting at these dudes. He was trying to scare them. Yeah. But he's hitting the ground. Yeah. He wasn't trying to hit nobody. He wasn't a killer. This dude had a 4.0 grade point average. He had never even stolen anything. He was the same as me. He was trying to fit this mold, right? He wanted to be this certain type of dude. And so he was willing to do whatever it took to get that. And so I'll never forget, man, the last dude was running, and he dove over the car like Dukes of Hazzard style, dove over the front, the hood of the car. Well, we didn't know this, but I guess that last bullet skipped up and hit him in the back. So he landed on the other side, and he got shot. And we didn't know. So me and Eddie, we jump in the car. And I'm like, you know, the adrenaline's flowing. So I'm like, oh, you shot him, cuz. You shot him, cuz. Let's go. You got him. You know, everybody now, we're throwing up signs out the window. Like, we're these fake-ass gangsters, right? But we had watched Menace to Society that day, so we were feeling it. Oh, yeah. And so I tell Eddie, you know, we're kind of starting to, we're so young and naive. We don't understand the gravity of the situation. No, not at all. And we don't know we shot anybody. Like, we don't have a clue. So I said, man, you know what, dude? I said, everybody and their dog was at Sonic. You're going to be in trouble. You just fired a gun at Sonic, right? You're going to be in trouble, but let's not let that ruin our ski trip. Let's go to Ruidoso. We'll deal with it when we get back. So we go to my mom's house. We pack up our bags. I go act like tell my mom like everything's all good. And then we had this dude in the hood who would buy us alcohol. So I said, man, let's go get our stuff before we head over there. We're only 18 at the time. I was 17, which actually 17 saved me from going to the pen. But because in New Mexico, I was still a minor. My buddy had just turned 18. So we go over to this dude in the hood and we say, hey man, did you hear what just happened at Sonic? We were up there, somebody started shooting, you know, it was crazy. Can you take us to the store? So he takes us to the store. We buy like 12 40s of OE, a couple 40s of Mickey's, a couple gallons of gin. And so we put it all in the trunk, man. We're heading up to Ruidoso, you know, not a care in the world. And so I'll never forget this either because this sounds so made up, but this actually happened. We needed to get gas in Lovington, so we pull into Lovington, New Mexico. Oh, well, first, let me back up. So Eddie still had the gun, right? So I'm like, all right, we need to hide this gun. He didn't want to give the gun up. Remember, at the time, we still had no idea anyone had been shot. But Eddie didn't want to give the gun up. So I said, well, dude, let's go hide it. Let's just go on a back road and hide it, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks when everything blows over, and we'll get it back. So the whole way out there, man, we're driving out on the Carlsbad Highway. We cut across on this oil field road, and I'm cleaning the gun the whole time with my shirt, just cleaning everything off, all the fingerprints off. And we go down this road 7/10 of a mile. I get out, take 35 steps, and I hide it up under a mesquite bush. And I'm like, there ain't nobody ever finding this gun. There ain't no freaking way. So I had a gun, too, that I stole from my mom. It was a little .22 pistol. I had it, and I'm like, you know, we'll just leave this one here because this one hadn't been fired. So if they do catch us, then they're going to find the gun, but it ain't been fired. So, you know, they ain't going to think it's us.
I think 22 was like common back then in our group. At same thing, just like yours is like partying, like big parties, just like you know, like what you're talking about. Same thing as me. That's when I had my first attempted murder. That's the same thing that happened was a 22.
Oh, good. So this is just a crazy part of the story. We pull into Lovington, New Mexico to get gas, and we pull up to the gas pump, and we're at the gas pump, and this sheriff truck pulls in, right? And he pulls in right beside us, and some girls pull in, or they're coming out of the store. They walk out of the store, and I guess they know him, so they walk over to his vehicle and are chatting him up, right? I hear over the loudspeaker the description of our vehicle, listed as armed and dangerous, and we had an APB out for us, right? And this cop's talking to these chicks, and I'm like, no freaking way. So we get out of there. He don't get us. We get out of there. We stop in Roswell, New Mexico, because we had a buddy who was valedictorian of NIMI. Okay, and so we were like, yeah, let's stop and tell Reggie what happened, right?
Yeah.
So we stop in Roswell, and right when we see Reggie, he's walking from far away. He's like, hey, cuz, I heard what happened, cuz, I heard what happened. We're like, what do you mean you heard what happened? And he's like, I heard, cuz, I heard you shot them fools. And we're like, what? Man, you don't know what you're talking about. We didn't shoot nobody. He's like, all right, whatever, man, I heard. And I'm like, okay. So that was the first time that we kind of were like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah, something bigger.
So then after that, my buddy Eddie, this is no joke, man. This fool just shot somebody. He had a book report due at school, right? So he wants to do his book report and ask if I can drive. So I bust open a 40 and I drive from Roswell to Ruidoso while he's doing a book report on the passenger side, right?
Yeah.
I ended up drinking 2 40s on the drive up there. We pull into Ruidoso, and on both sides of the road, there's 2 cops sitting right when we pull into Ruidoso. We go right past them. They don't see us, right?
Yeah.
So then we're supposed to be meeting a whole group of guys up there, And so we're driving the strip in Ruidoso looking for these dudes, and we don't see them. We don't see them anywhere. I said, man, let's stop over here and call Toby and ask Toby what's up. So I called Toby's mom's house to get the number to the cabin we were supposed to be staying at. Yeah. And Toby's stepdad was a New Mexico sheriff. He was a sheriff in Hobbs at the time. And he's the one who owned the cabin that we were supposed to be staying at. So we didn't know this, but they had it staked out waiting on us to get there.
Oh my!
So I called Toby's mom's house, and Toby answers the phone. And he was supposed to be in Ruidoso. And I'm like, dude, why are you in Hobbs? Like, what are you doing? He's like, you ain't heard? I'm like, no, I heard what? He's like, man, Eddie shot one of those dudes, and they don't think he's going to make it through the night. He's like, y'all either need to take off or go turn yourselves in. And so I was just like, damn, just got real. And so I tell Eddie, man, Eddie's wearing a long sleeve Duke Blue Devils shirt. So I said, first thing you do, dude, we got to get rid of that shirt. Like, we got to take that shirt off. So we took the shirt off. We thought we cleared all the alcohol out of the trunk, and we threw it in a dumpster behind Alsa's, right? Mm-hmm. And we drove around for a little bit trying to decide what to do, and so then Eddie stops to call his mom. By this time, the police had already raided his house. Like I said, this dude had never even stole a piece of bubble gum in his life. 4.0 student, never been in trouble. All of a sudden, his house gets raided by cops looking for him. And so he calls his mom, and after talking to his mom, he said, man, we got to go turn ourselves in. I'm like, seriously? Go turn ourselves in? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's go. So we pull up to the Ruidoso Police Department. We get out, and I'll never forget, man, I grabbed Eddie's hand right before we walked in. I grabbed his hand and said, dude, they're going to try to get you to tell them that you did this. Yeah. There's no freaking way they can know you did it. There was way too many people there. I said, do not tell them you did it. And he's like, okay. So we walk in, he walks up, and he's like, hey, I'm Eddie Summers. I'm wanted for a shooting in Hobbs, New Mexico. And they come out, they arrested him. Keep in mind, I already drank 2 40s on the way up there. And they come out immediately and arrest Eddie, put him back in the, I guess, cell. Yeah. They give me a remote control to the TV and said, man, you got to wait on a detective from Hobbs to come up here, so just turn on the TV. So I sat there and watched Night Court for 3 hours waiting on this detective to come talk to me. And so finally, the detective gets there, right? And then they start the whole back and forth thing to where, oh, we know you did it. Eddie just said, I said, man, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, there's a gun in the car. You can test it. It ain't been fired. We didn't shoot nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. So then about 4 or 5 in the morning, my folks get there. And they come in, and I lied to their face, too. I'm like, man, I don't know what they're talking about. And my dad's like, man, you need to tell the truth. The detective was Pete. He said, Pete's my friend, and he said that if you tell the truth, that you're not going to do any time or anything like that. I'm like, I'm telling the truth. We didn't do nothing. So finally, it's probably about 5 in the morning, they brought Eddie into the room. Yeah. They brought us into the room, set us next to each other. They asked me again my side. I tell them the same thing I've been telling them, right? Mm-hmm. And then Eddie looks at me and he's like, I told him. I said, what? You did what? You told him? Oh. And then I just started crying, man. And I just started crying, and they ended up letting me go. Like, I left with my parents that night. Eddie stayed in, and he ended up serving some time behind it.
Did he?
So that just kind of shows of how I was living my senior year in high school, the kind of group I was running with.
It reminds me of, you remember that movie Dazed and Confused? Like,
oh, yeah.
Them kind of days, like, but probably a lot worse than that, but just partying days, them were the kind of like big parties like, you know, we were having back when we went to high school. But, well, how many did he get? Any years? Did he come back out or?
Yeah, he came back out. Yeah, shoot. And once he came out, it was on like Donkey Kong, man. Like that shit makes you famous. Like we were on the front page of the Hobbs paper, and so he was on house arrest. We had people at his house every night. We had different chicks coming over every night. Like we were like rock stars after that. It was crazy. But But yeah, he didn't do much time. He actually got out on a bond, and then he didn't do much time, and he's doing really good now. He's got a family. He completely reformed his life, and he ended up doing very well for himself after that. But that was just the beginning for me because, it just progressed from there. What's that?
That opened your eyes up, didn't it? I mean,
nah.
You still kept on, huh?
Yeah. It just all it did was pour fuel on the fire for me because and not
like the
we just kept doing what we were doing, but it just progressed and progressed and progressed. So finally, one day, this is what changed. This actually changed my whole path. This next story.
Yeah.
So I have my buddy Cody, and he's probably the craziest dude anyone's ever met.
Mm-hmm.
We went bird hunting with this dude, and he had a 9mm his dad let him use. So we went bird hunting, dude. We had birds in the back of the truck. We pull up to take Cody home. We're in my dad's truck, and we pull up to take Cody home, and Cody's like, hey, man. So his buddy, our mutual friend, he was walking out of his house. He lived across the street. So he was walking out of Cody's house when we pulled up, walking across the street to his house. And Cody said, hey, cuz, give me that gun. I'm going to scare him. So Cody gets the 9. He sticks it out the window, right? And he's like, freeze, cuz. And Steven just looks and he's like, yeah, whatever, Cody, dude. Like, everybody knows Cody's stupid. So he's like, whatever. He don't even pay no mind to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Cody had already been in the joint for doing a drive-by with a 30-06 on his bicycle.
Oh, my.
So, little did Cody forgot that right across the street, there was an off-duty sheriff, and he was on his front porch smoking a cigarette. And all he sees is this freaking gun come out the window in Cody's house. So he loses it, dude. He comes over. He starts banging on the window, telling me to stop, right? Well, I knew I was 18, but I'd never been in trouble. I'd never been in trouble with the law. We knew that Steven would say that we weren't threatening him. It was all a joke. We weren't trying to really threaten this dude. We were just playing with him, So I'm like, you know what? I knew that if they knew Cody had the gun, he's going to the penitentiary. Like he's out. Yeah. And so I just told him I had the gun. Well, this pissed the cop off because he knew I didn't have the gun. Like Cody's whole arms were sticking out the passenger side. I'm in the driver's side, right? Yeah. But I told him, I said, I had the gun. Like it was my gun, bro. And so they ended up letting me go that night, They let me go home, and I'm like, okay, well, we didn't do nothing wrong. I mean, we weren't trying to hurt anybody. And so I go home. Well, about 3 days later, I leave to go get gas, and as I pull on my street, the cop comes down, U-turns behind me, and I'm like, man.
Be sure to see if that gun's registered.
Yes, well, so no, the gun was the other dude's. He went home with the gun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the gun was our friend that we were bird hunting with. Yeah. And we were legit bird. We had like freaking 8 birds in the back of the truck. We went and killed birds. We just had the 9 with us, Yeah. And Cody's just playing around with this dude. It wasn't nothing serious at all. In our minds, in our young minds, it wasn't nothing at all. So anyways, I see this cop get behind me. I tell my mom, I say, hey, Mom, I'm going to get gas. I get in the car. I start heading up to the mall, which in Hobbs we call it the hall because it's not much of a mall, but I tried to get to JCPenney's and get out of my car and get into JCPenney's, and I was going to run out the back of the mall. But I was doing it I wasn't trying to run from the cop. I was just trying to act like I was going into the mall without him catching me. So I park my car, I start walking up to JCPenney's, and he pulls up on the curb, and he's like, are you Chad Ganaway? I said, yeah. And he's like, I got a warrant for your arrest. So I get arrested. I'm 18 years old. I get arrested. I got to call my parents and be like, I'm in jail. And they're like, they have no clue. Because I wasn't really a troublemaker. I ran with a bunch of troublemakers, but I never actually got caught for anything.
Yeah.
So anyways, that experience ended up leading to me getting deferred adjudication. And the deferred beautification, I had a friend of the family who had always told me I could move to San Antonio with him. And my mom just never would let me do it. Well, now I get deferred beautification, and if I get in trouble, then I'm going to jail, guaranteed. And if I stay with the group I am with in Hobbs, there's no doubt I'm going to get in trouble, you know. So my mom finally agreed to let me move to San Antonio. So in 1995, I moved to San Antonio, and I moved into Stone Oak. And at the time, Stone Oak, I literally felt like I was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, man. I moved out of Hobbs. I moved into Stone Oak. It's a nice neighborhood. There's a little basketball court right across the street from where I'm living. I'm just freaking loving it. Like, it's like completely different than Hobbs, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
So I still didn't know what I was going to, I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. I just knew I had to get out of Hobbs. Well, Stone Oak was right by Cornerstone, Pastor Hagee's church.
Oh, yeah.
And so I drove by there, and my first thought was like, man, I bet there's a lot of cute girls in that youth group. That's a big church.
Yeah.
So I said, I'm gonna go find that youth group. So I go to that church. I go to Hagee's church, and it's big. It's a big complex. I don't know where I'm at or anything. I just park and I'm just walking around, right? And I see this dude, this black dude. And he's dressed way different than any black dude I'd ever seen in Hobbs, right? He didn't look nothing like the black dudes I knew. Yeah. And I said, hey, man. I said, hey, you know where the youth group is? He's like, oh, yeah, you want to go to the youth group? Follow me. So I follow this dude. His name's Kerry. Well, that's what we called him at the time. Yeah. So Kerry, I follow him to the youth group. I start meeting people. Everything's cool, you know. And he's like, hey, me and my brother are going to go to Denny's after this. You want to go with us? I said, yeah. So I go to Denny's. This was March 26, 1995. So March 26, 1995, we go to Denny's. We sit down, and they start telling me everything God had done in their life. Like, they were completely on fire for God. This dude, Michael, he was a heroin addict. God had redeemed him. They were totally on fire. And so I left that day. I got in my car. And that day, on the drive back out to Stone Oak, I said, you know what, God? I'm gonna rededicate my life to you, and I'm gonna live for you 100%. Like everything else, I'm putting it behind me. And so from that day, I started really, I quit everything. I quit smoking weed. I quit going to clubs. I quit drinking. I quit doing everything, and all I was doing was focusing on God. I was going to Hagee's church every single time it was open. I went to Bible studies out of Hagee's church where I met some really awesome people of faith. And that really, meeting Carrie and that experience really transformed my entire life. And me getting arrested for what somebody else did in Hobbs put me on the path for what God had planned for me, So I lived in San Antonio for about a year. Everything was going good. I had a job doing valet parking at Retama Park Racetrack when it first opened. I drove Dennis Rodman's truck, parked it. I saw George Strait. Like, it was awesome. I left with cash every night. It was a great gig. Well, then I go back to Hobbs, and I end up meeting this girl who was like 18 years old, just super, super Christian, right? Like, this girl was 18. She had said 3 cuss words her whole life, and she could tell you every reason why she had said the cuss word. Like, we were literally completely opposite ends of the spectrum. Yeah. So we just started becoming pen pals. At the time, there was no email or nothing like that. We wrote letters, Oh, yeah. So we just wrote letters back and forth. We were just friends. Nothing more than that. I didn't have any intentions with this girl whatsoever. She was just my friend, Yeah,
exactly.
So she was in college. She had never been in pageants or anything like that. Well, she was in college, and one of her professors said, hey, have you ever thought about doing the Miss New Mexico pageant? And she's like, no, I'm not really that kind of person. I don't want to do that. She's like, well, you can get your school paid for by doing it, So she decides she's going to go for it. So she was going to have the pageant to determine whether she would get Miss New Mexico or not. And I told her the whole time that, oh, I can't come, I got to work, but I planned on coming, you know.
Yeah.
So I showed up and surprised her at her thing. She ends up winning Miss New Mexico that night. Gonna go to the Miss America pageant. And that night we kind of became more than friends. You know, we decided we were going to start seeing each other and stuff like that. Long distance, of course, because I still lived in San Antonio.
Yeah.
So we continued writing letters. Well, finally, I just got back kind of to where I got myself in problems the first time. I went with everything I wanted, you know. I didn't really consult God on this. I was head over heels for this girl. I wanted this girl. And so I made it up in my head that she needed my help supporting her for the Miss America pageant, so I need to move back to Hobbs. So I moved back to Hobbs. And the very first night back in Hobbs, man, her youth group went to a bowling alley in Hobbs, right?
Oh.
And I'll never forget my very first night back in Hobbs. At that bowling alley, I looked around and I was like, what am I doing here? What am I, like, why am I back here, dude? I was in San Antonio like the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now I'm back at, oddly enough, the bowling alley was called Bel Air Bowl. Can't make this up, but, so we're at Bel Air Bowl and I just knew that night, man. And right, Bel Air Bowl also is right where the Sonic shooting happened. They're literally within feet of each other. And so, anyways, that night, in my spirit, I knew I made a mistake in my spirit, but I was still trying to make it work. Well, the Miss New Mexico people, they didn't really like me. I didn't fit their mold, right? Yeah. And so they basically pulled me and her apart, and we ended up splitting up. And so now I'm back in Hobbs. I got nothing. I'm trying to live for God. None of my friends are trying to live for God. Like, they're now it ain't just weed and Mickey's anymore. Now they're starting to sell ecstasy. They're starting to do meth. They're starting to do all this. So I'm like, man, I don't want to go back with them. But so I was just depressed, dude. I was so depressed. I didn't do anything at all. I just go in my room and lay in the bed. And so finally one day my dad comes in. He's like, man, it's killing me and your mom to see you like this. You need to do something. He's like, I don't care if you start hanging out with your friends again. I don't care what you do. You need to do something different. Yeah. So that's what I did. I went right back with my friends, right? Mm-hmm. And so, like I said, this time the game had changed. Like, everything was different now. So now, basically smoke
over there, the race tracks over there.
No, there was no racetrack there then.
Oh, okay.
Thank goodness, because that would have probably added problems.
Oh,
yeah. So now this group was, now instead of smoking weed every day, which we still were, but we were also smoking meth every day. Yeah. And it was I wasn't like a strung out meth addict, right? But I would smoke. I would go home and have dinner with my family, and no one had a clue I was smoking meth. Nobody. Like, except my friends I was doing it with. And that was just what we did. It was part of our day. It wasn't a big deal. But I always have said this. I wasn't smart enough to know I needed out of that situation, but the Holy Spirit in me that I had gotten in the third grade knew that I needed out of that situation. And so I just started praying for a way out. I just started praying like, God, just take me out of Hobbs. I'm like, just take me out of Hobbs. I don't care what you do. Now, keep in mind, I hadn't been in a gymnastics facility since I was 11 or 12 years old. Every friend that I had absolutely zero clue that I knew anything at all about gymnastics. I had no ties to gymnastics at all since I was 11 years old. Here I am, 21 years old, right? Yeah. So gymnastics is not even remotely close to what I'm thinking about. But I'm just praying for a way out, any way out, right? Mm-hmm. So I had a friend that I met in San Antonio that actually I did start going and helping him one night a week do tumbling classes when I lived in San Antonio. And so I'd always told him, I'm like, man, I would really like to coach, if you ever get any openings in San Antonio, let me know. I'll come back and coach for you. Yeah. So he knew this. And so I'm just praying for a way out, right? Well, in July of 97, me and my buddy, his dad owned an oil field company. So he let us come and be the oil field weed choppers. We chopped weed in the oil field yard. And we did the job because we could come and clock in at like 10 o'clock, smoke, do a few weeds, go to the movies, come back, clock out at 5. And he wasn't going to say nothing, right? So this one particular day in Hobbs, New Mexico, I'm hoeing weeds, and all of a sudden Victoria pops into my head. I knew nothing about Victoria. Didn't know I'd actually been to Victoria, but I didn't know it. I didn't remember ever going to Victoria. But one time when I lived in San Antonio and I was helping that dude coach, we actually came to Victoria one day for a competition that he was judging at. So I'd been to Victoria, but I didn't know it. I didn't know nothing about Victoria. So this day it just pops in my head, and I'm like, man, that's really weird. I don't know what that means. It's just a passing thought. I didn't think too much of it, right? Well, I walk in my house that evening, and my mom says, hey, there's a message on the answering machine you need to hear. So I go and push play, and it's like, hey, Chad, this is your friend Ty here in San Antonio, and I've just found a well-established gymnastics program in Victoria, Texas that wants to start a trampoline and tumbling program. And so, dude, I just started bawling. Like, I'm just like, no way. So, like, first thing I do is I get the map out. I look at where Victoria is, and I see it's like, this far from South Padre on the map. And I'm like, I think I can handle that. And so me and my mom that weekend, we get in the car, we drive to Victoria to meet the gym owner. Keep in mind, I ain't been in a gym since I was 11 years old. I knew nothing about coaching. I knew zero about coaching. And so we walk into this gym, and at the time, this gym, they were producing high-level athletes. Man, they had gymnasts, level 10 gymnasts, and it was way different than what I grew up in. Like, my gym, it was a tumbling gym that had paneling falling off the walls. Like, it wasn't fancy. It wasn't nothing. We were just tumblers, I walk into this gym. It was $1 million facility in 1997. Oh, yeah. This been built. I'd never seen anything like it, and I was so overwhelmed. Like, there's no possible way that I can do this, right? So we walk through that gym, we walk out, and I look at my mom, and I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't do this. She goes, what do you mean you can't do it? I'm like, did you see that place? Like, that's so far over my head, there's no way I can do that. She's like, all right, I'll call your dad and tell him to find you a job in the oil field. And I said, okay, I'll try. So I'd already seen how hard my dad worked in the oil field. I already knew I wasn't built like that. I knew it. I wasn't even trying to pretend I was built like that. So the next weekend after that, I moved to Victoria by myself, didn't know anybody at all, and just started coaching trampoline and tumbling. And I pretty much just kind of poured myself into it because, again, I'm trying to leave my past from Hobbs behind. So I don't want to come here and get involved with another group like that. Because what happens when you get in with a group like that, it's really hard to break away because that is your identity within the group. Oh, yeah. Everybody knows you as this person. You can't be something else because that's not what you are, And so I didn't really want any friends. So I moved here. When I first moved here, I was pretty depressed because I would literally go and coach 11, 12-year-olds the whole day and then come back to the apartment and didn't know anything. The highlight of my life at that time was Tuesdays because Oz came on HBO. That was the highlight of my whole life, was watching Oz. Yeah. So I just started coaching. I poured myself into it. This was in September of '97 is when I started at Manning Gymnastics. Oh, yeah. And then they had, like I said, they had a lot of really good athletes. And so they had some of those really good gymnasts. In order to start the trampoline tumbling program, they made them do trampoline tumbling and gymnastics. And so I ended up getting some kids that were really, really good, right? Yeah. So it wasn't even hard to coach them. They were so good. It was given to me. And so in 1999, I ended up having a girl from Hallettsville go to South Africa and win third in the world on double mini, which is one of the events we do. And so I literally left Hobbs, like not knowing what I was going to do, end up in gymnastics, and the next thing I know, I'm at world championships with an athlete winning a medal, Yeah. And so that kind of just added fuel to the fire. And once you once you do something like that, like once you see your athlete on there and the United States flags are being raised or the national anthem, like you're hooked. Like you want to try that forever,
Oh, yeah.
So I just committed my life to the sport and just, coached. And now I've had a kid win at nationals for 25 years in a row.
That's
So
awesome.
it was definitely God's path that I never would have seen coming.
Yes, definitely. And I remember also, Chad. I know if you, I remember because I used to go to Manning's because I knew.
Yeah, I coached your first wife.
Yes, and yes, my ex-wife. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you hated me. I remember.
Because I knew everybody from one high school, and then I ended up going to another high school. So I just got kicked out of high school. So and then that's when I used to see, and I'm like, who is this guy? Like, he's the girls are all talking to him. He's a young dude too, and I'm like, who's this guy think he is? Like I was like, I said, okay, whatever. And how God works, like, how our lives just, came together. And then when when I started Brothers of God in Victoria, and then I met you at Faith Family Church at the time.
Yeah, that's the next step of my testimony, because that was just me getting out of high. Then we've had even crazier stuff happen since. So
tell me about your Holy Cow ministry at the time.
So that's how me and you. That's how me and you ended up meeting each other and becoming friends. Because about the same time you had your stuff happen to you.
Yes.
Me and my wife, or fiance at the time, I've been back to Hobbs every single year that I've lived here for Christmas and Thanksgiving. So we went back every year, no matter what. We weren't going to miss it. And so November 28th, 2009, we were coming back from Hobbs on an FM road in a Honda Civic.
Yeah.
And I was driving along. I had Tupac on. I was cruising back with my hand on the steering wheel like this. And I'd been on this road a ton of times. It was 7:30 at night. And all of a sudden, Chelsea says, "Oh my God." And she goes down like this. And at that moment, I ran into the side of a 1,500-pound cow in a Honda Civic on cruise control at like 70. And so we were both knocked unconscious. The cow came through the car, took the top of the roof of the car off. The car then, and there's not shoulders on this FM road. It's just like all like it's all like just terrain,
Yeah.
Well, the skid marks showed that we went into the left-hand side. The car started sliding sideways, and then it caught traction, went over the road, went through a barbed wire fence, and then then we ended up crashing into a mesquite bush, which is what stopped the car. Well, I guess that crash into the mesquite bush woke me up, because I started coming to shortly after that.
Yeah.
And first thing I noticed was that my left arm was hurting, and then I felt something on my head. So I reached up and I wiped and I saw there was blood on my head. And I look over at Chelsea, and she's back like on the seat like this with her eyes closed, and there's blood all over her face. And I start just screaming like, "Chelsea, listen to me!" And she wasn't there, she wasn't waking up. So this is another miracle. There's several miracles that happened that night. First of all, the cow probably should have taken both of our heads off. Somehow it didn't.
Yeah.
Then we start sliding at 70 miles an hour through a pasture without a shoulder, and the car didn't flip. If it flips, we're gone.
Yeah.
Because there's no roof on the car. And then I drove with my phone at the time in between my legs on the seat. Well, there were CDs that were in the glove box that they found under the back seats, because when we hit that cow, that car exploded. Right? But when I came to, my phone was in my hand. I don't know how. I don't remember getting it. It had blood all over the screen. So I start wiping the blood away. And then I start calling 911. Well, because we were in the middle of nowhere, West Texas, my call was bouncing off at 3 different towers, so they didn't know where we were. And so they're trying to, and I guess I'm in shock. I'm still trying to process everything. And I said, man, we're on FM 11. They're like, okay, well, FM 11 is pretty big. Like, where are you at? I'm like, don't know. I don't know where I'm at. I'm on FM 11. So it took them about an hour to find us. And it was just me and Chelsea, and she was practically dying in front of my face. And so I remember just yelling at the top of my lungs. I just said, help us, Jesus. And that was it, and nothing at the time. It didn't seem like he helped. He didn't show up, he didn't show up like Batman or anything, but it was just me and her, and my left arm ended up breaking in 17 places. So I knew it was bad because I'd seen some injuries in gymnastics, and I knew by looking at my arm it wasn't right, And so I just had it resting on the door, the driver's side door. I had my left arm resting. And I just kept yelling at Chelsea, and she was unresponsive. And so finally, the first 2 people that showed up were 2 young volunteer firefighters, girls, 2 young girls. And they came and they got behind Chelsea. They asked me, I said, man, I'm fine. I said, my arm's broke, but other than that, I'm good. They got behind Chelsea, and one of them got behind her head, and the other one was at the passenger side door. And they're like, man, I hope they hurry up. She's freaking me out. And I'm like, thanks a lot. Like, I'm supposed to be the help, now they're freaking you out too. And so finally it went from like pure just nothing at all, just me and her out there, no cars went by, nothing, to complete chaos. Because now everybody descends on there, the cops, the ambulances, and they had to fly a helicopter in. So they finally fly the helicopter in. They landed it. They pulled Chelsea out the back. They got her in the helicopter, and I remember feeling like, all right, we're good. It's over. It's over. Well, little did I know we were just getting started. So they put me in an ambulance and drove me to Fort Stockton. They got me to Fort Stockton Hospital and realized my arm was way beyond their capability. So then they put me in a helicopter and flew me to the same hospital Chelsea was at in Odessa. And then they put me in a room. And they did surgery on me that day, that morning. They did surgery on my arm. And then they wouldn't let me see Chelsea because she was in ICU. She was hooked up to all these machines. And they still, at the time, they didn't know if she was even going to survive, Her brain was swelling, so we didn't know if she was going to need a craniotomy. And so finally, about probably 2 days in, they finally let me go up into the room and see her. And I tell people, I'm like, man, if I didn't have God, if I didn't have Jesus or some sort of anchor in my heart, my first instinct when I saw her was to jump out of the hospital window. Like, that was my first thought, was like, just jump. Like, I couldn't deal with this, right? So she was in a coma for about 6 or 7 days, and we just started, I just started praying. Like, she was in ICU. I told my folks, I said, hey, go to Target, get a boom box, and I'm going to get these healing CDs from Pastor Hagee's church sent. So they went, I got some Christian CDs, and I told the nurses in ICU, I said, man, whenever we're not in here, I want this to be playing all the time. So we played Pastor Hagee's healing CDs and Christian praise and worship music the whole time. And the first couple of days, I was going through the why us, God, don't you see, we work with kids, we do all this good stuff, why are we going through this, why us? Well, then, a couple days in, I realized that if Chelsea was going to be healed, it was going to be because of God, and that I was going to have to lock in and just believe God for a miracle, So that's what we did, man. We had a ton of people around the world praying for us. Like, everybody's praying. And we had the doctors in Odessa Hospital were basically telling us that she would need 24 hours of care the rest of her life if she survived. And so we ended up staying in the, this is a pretty cool part of the story. So one of the people I met at John Hagee's church was Joe Blanchard. Joe Blanchard was a former wrestler, professional football player, and he led the Bible study that I went to when I lived in San Antonio. And so Joe was a big spiritual influence in my life. Like my Nana was my first spiritual mentor. Joe Blanchard is who God put in my life second, right? So I called Joe like the second this had been about 5 or 6 days in because Chelsea was still in ICU, right? So I called Joe and I'm like, I'm all bummed out, and I'm like, hey, Joe. And Joe's like, hey, brother, how's it going? I'm like, not that good, Joe. And I'm like, have you heard me and Chelsea when I oh, yeah, brother, we heard. We've been praying. It's all good, though. Don't worry. It's good. I'm like, I don't think you understand, Joe. He's like, no, I understand. It's all good. I said, okay, well, it don't look good. And I said, you know what? When I get back to ICU, I'm going to call you and I'm going to put the phone next to Chelsea and if you can pray for her. Yeah. So I came back, I put the phone next to her. Joe prayed for her, and the next day she got moved into a regular room out of ICU. And so I always thought that was pretty amazing, Yeah. So we were in Odessa Medical Center from November 28th, the night of the accident, until December 11th. December 11th, Chelsea got to the point to where they were able to transfer her to Warm Springs. So they transferred her to Warm Springs, and we were in Warm Springs from December 11th until January 8th. She finally got released on January 8th. Now, keep in mind, she had been told she'd need 24-hour care the rest of her life. Yeah. She got released from Warm Springs on January 8th, did outpatient training or outpatient therapy for 4 months, went back to work 4 months after the accident, part-time, and then we went on our honeymoon in August of that year. 10 months after the accident, she was hiking in Hawaii. Wow. And so God completely healed her. Through that experience, I had an athlete at the time. I had a gym in Cuero, Texas at the time this happened. Yes, I remember. And my top athlete, his dad was a pastor, and he was very good with technology. He was very good at making slideshows. He did it for all the competitions. He'd make slideshows, put music in there and all that. He was good at it. Yeah. So I just started sending him all the pictures of everything, all the pictures of the accident, all through the recovery, all of that. And I said, man, can you make us a DVD? So he ends up putting it all together, setting it to really good Christian music, and the Holy Cow DVD was born. It's about a 14, 15-minute slideshow of the whole accident. So one of the other people I met, my friend Carrie, who I rededicated my life, his mother, I talked to his mother, and he's like, Chad, have you thought about getting your story to the 700 Club? And I'd watched the 700 Club a long time before that, but I'd forgotten about the 700 Club. I didn't know it was a thing anymore. Yeah. She's like, you should send your story to the 700 Club. So I sent one of the Holy Cow DVDs to the 700 Club. They end up getting back with me, fly into Victoria, set our house up into a little miniature TV studio, and do a reenactment of everything, of the whole story, And so you can actually go on YouTube and type in Chad and Chelsea Ganaway, and it's called Total Restoration. And that's the reenactment and the slideshow that they did of the Holy Cow thing.
Wow. How else can they reach you, Chad? Do you have Instagram?
Facebook. Facebook. Yeah, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Facebook, if you want to add me on Facebook, I can send you the original slideshow, which I think, in my opinion, is even more powerful than the 700 Club thing. The 700 Club thing's produced. Correct. The slideshow is just all the pictures of what actually happened. You can actually see how terrible it was, Yeah. And not only that, how God delivered us from it, Yeah, and so if they want, I can send that in Messenger on Facebook, the slideshow, and then they can access the YouTube thing on YouTube under Chad and Chelsea Ganaway.
Awesome. If anybody wants to see the accident, the miracle of Holy Cow, they can go on what again, Chad? On your Facebook?
YouTube, Chad and Chelsea Ganaway, Total Restoration, or they can add me on Facebook and just message me saying that, hey, I want to see the slideshow and stuff of Holy Cow, and I'll send them all the stuff I have on it.
Awesome. And then you have one more miracle, Chad.
Oh, yeah, my daughter. So,
amen, brother.
Yeah, so, and this is really awesome, too. it's hard. God has used numbers my whole life. Like my life is like so connected by numbers that it's undeniable evidence that whatever I got going here has been ordained by God, and I can't escape it no matter if I wanted to. And so I've always recognized these numbers in my life. You know, I was born at 3:03 in the morning. The doctor who had delivered me in Hobbs, his home address was 3:03. I was born on February 21st, so 2 and 1 is 3. My baseball number a lot of years was 3. Like 3 has always been associated with my life. Well, then when I met Chelsea, her number, her whole life was 2. And her email address was like Chelsea Aiken 2220222, right? Like her number was 2. So it was perfect because I love Michael Jordan, so I got all these Jordan jerseys. So me and her together became 23. That's always been our number, right?
Yeah.
So, like I said, the accident, no one even knew if Chelsea would recover or not, much less ever have a kid. Like that wasn't even a thought. That we were just Chelsea. You know how it was, man. Chelsea was actually a kid. She didn't know how to read. She didn't know how to walk. She didn't know how to talk. She was and when she did start talking, she sounded like a 4-year-old. Like she sounded like a kid, you know. So at that time, there's nobody that could have ever imagined that we would be able to have a kid, right?
Yes. No.
But anyways, God heals her. Life goes on. We kind of go back to our lives as good as we can. And Callie ends up, also, back up a little bit, the accident happened on FM 11 in November, the 11th month, 2009. 2 and 9 is 11. So there was 11s all around the accident.
Yeah.
And I had a coach that worked for me at the time. And after all that, she goes, hey, have you ever heard that when you see 1111, it means that there's angels in the midst? And I'm like, I never heard that, but that's really cool because there's definitely a lot of 11s, right?
Yeah.
So Callie ends up being born on 11/1/11, which adds up to 23.
Wow. That's awesome.
That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, she's been the greatest miracle we've had for sure.
Yes. I believe in it. Mine is my birthday's December 19th and my wife's is on the 1st. So it's 1s and 9s. Like even our children are either born on the 19th or the 1st, and that's many of our children. So I believe you when you're talking about that. I hadn't looked it up yet to see what the 1s and 9s are, what that means, but that's all I ever had in my life. So
I mean, there's all kinds of different people and things that they mean. They can mean a lot of different stuff. This is the only thing I've ever been able to come to. Like, 'cause sometimes it's just mind-boggling, man. Like the other day, for instance, my mom passed away last year on the 9th, on January 9th, right?
yeah.
And her birthday is June 9th. 6/9 is her birthday.
Hold on.
So on the 9th,
That's my
me and
daughter's
Callie.
birthday. Wow.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
I was born this
One
past
more
May.
connection.
Hold on. So your mom just passed away on June 9th? That's when my daughter was born.
No, my mom passed away on January 9th,
Oh,
but
January
my mom was
9th.
born on June 9th.
Oh, wow.
So
she was born
6/9 is my mom's birthday, right? So this week it was been a year or whatever, and so me and Callie, we're just gonna go have lunch and stuff like normal. So we go up, and I just happen to pull into a parking spot, and the first thing I see as soon as I park is the license plate in front of me was 6923. And I just told Callie, I'm like, dude, look at that license plate. And she knows. She was just like, wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
And so it's just things like that. It happens that it's unless you're just not looking for it. Like if you're looking for it and you see it, it's undeniable evidence. And what I've always said is the Bible says that God goes before us, and He's already been to where we're going. And so for us, it's hard to wrap our minds around how He could put that license plate there and know I was going to park right there.
Yeah.
But He's already been there.
Yeah.
He's already been to that day before I ever got to that day, And so that's what it's always been for me. It's not as much about the meaning of the number, but it's always that God is just showing me that, hey, everything's how it's supposed to be, And that's what it's done for me. It just gives me a level of peace that even though I may not like that my mom passed away, it was exactly what God had planned, you know?
Exactly. That's the same way as my family's same way. It's always been like that. Sometimes these are the signs that we don't see a lot of times because there's so much other things that is around us a lot of times that we don't recognize, and then when we do recognize, is when God's trying to tell us something. That hello, he's been here, you know, and it's amazing testimony. And how long you and Chelsea been together, married already for Chad?
We've been married for, I don't even know. We've been together since 2001. That's when we met.
Okay.
We met September 21st, 2001. Um, and then we got married in 2010. So yeah, we've been married 15 years.
Yeah. That's
Almost
16.
But
Okay, that's
yeah, almost 16. Been together more than that, longer than that. That's actually one more thing I can throw in there.
Go ahead, brother.
That's pretty awesome. So before I met Chelsea, I was coaching at Manning's, and I'd been hurt, like the whole Hobbs thing with that girl. That really jacked my world up, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to ever get hurt like that again. So I didn't want just one girl. Like didn't want just one girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
And so I was kind of just living basically a heathen life during that time in Victoria. And then 9/11 happened, right?
Yeah.
9/11 happened, and I remember I was in my warehouse apartment in downtown Victoria on Depot Street. Now, no one else was there. I was standing there, and I'm watching the towers go down, and something inside of me changed. And I was like, you know what, God? If you have someone out there that I'm supposed to be with, that you want me to be with, I'm willing to accept it now. And so 10 days later, me and Chelsea met. 9/11/01 happened. We met 9/21/01. And then everything I already said. What's that?
You said 21. There's that 3 again, huh?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then so the other thing that ended up interesting, so when the accident happened, our wedding was coming up. We had everything planned, everything printed. We were getting married on March 13th of 2010. That's when our wedding was supposed to be. Well, the accident happened. By March, Chelsea wasn't ready to have a wedding, right? So we ended up having to push our wedding back, push it back. We ended up getting married on 9/11/2010. So it's like that's what started it all, was 9/11. Like without that happening, I don't meet Chelsea because I might have met her, but she definitely wouldn't have stayed around.
Yeah. Yeah, especially a guy like you, Chad. I don't think I'm joking, brother.
I ain't never been right, that's for sure. That's what I've always said, man. People, people are always like, and for a while, like having a kid win at nationals every year when I knew nothing about gymnastics. The first few years, I was like, oh, I'm a badass. This is all me. Well, man, after it happens year after year, I'm like, dude, this is God. This has nothing to do with me. And people will be like, "Oh yeah, but you're the one who went and did it. You're the one who did it." I'm like, "Yeah, but if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have done all that." Like, He is the reason this is happening. Like, God is the only thing good that's ever been in me. Like, I've never been good, ever. And none of us are. A lot of us want to pretend and say we are, but when it comes right down to it, we're all born into sin. We're all sinners, and our body is programmed to go that route. And so without God, I mean, you basically have no shot.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Sin never sleeps, brother, like they say. The flesh will take over a lot of your ambitions, that things that you want to do. Flesh always gets in our way instead of our spirit, because it's always from the inside out is what we always try to bring out the best of each other. And anything else, Chad? Yeah, are you pretty good at
that I mean, that's it. I mean, there's a lot more, obviously, but it's. I think I've always said that I need to write a book because I have a whole bunch of stories to tell and a lot of the numbers stuff. But that all the numbers and stuff really is better told in a writing format. Just it's easier to see it and comprehend where I'm coming from with it. But yeah, I mean, I do want to write a book. I just, I've always said the reason I haven't started it. Well, couple of reasons. One of the reasons was is I really didn't want my mom to have to read it because I feel like the book I need to write is going to have to be pretty forthcoming. I mean, I left a lot of stuff out of this testimony. Like before our accident, me and Chelsea got pretty involved in the rave scene. So we were like partying on a whole nother level during that time in our lives. And the cow completely changed our direction. So that's why we called it Holy Cow, is because without that cow, who knows what ends up happening, because we were definitely putting ourselves in some spots that could have ended badly for sure. But yeah, I mean, there's been a lot, but ultimately it all comes back to just, God, no matter how big of a knucklehead I've been, God's always pulled me out of it. Like he's always, and I will give credit to my Nana Mae Snowden, because I've always kind of been like, man, I've been such a freaking knucklehead and I've been so blessed. Like my life is so extremely blessed, And the only thing I can think of is that God is honoring my Nana's prayer in her life. God is honoring the way my Nana lived her life. And it says, if you live your life for me, I'm going to bless generations to come. And that's why I got what I got. Not because of anything I did, but because of what my Nana did.
That's exactly the same thing as my grandmother, grandmother Cavassos, that she was dedicated to her life to just being a prayer warrior. And it's because there's nothing that I deserve. I can tell you that since I was a juvenile, going to juvenile as a kid, and detention centers, of course, and of course, counties and prisons and stuff like that. But
Right.
it's amazing that how God can bring us out of the bad story and then turn into just miracles, and after more miracles, just the same way like you had your Callie, as I had more children, double what God has given me. I had 3, now I have 9 total. So
right.
It's a blessing.
Is that 9 again?
There's that 9 again.
Yeah, and then it's crazy too how God can end up linking us up. Like somebody who, like the enemy's first thought that you had about me was negative. He wanted to put us a wedge between us for no reason, just because. And then God ends up bringing us together. And like I said, my brother's birthday is the day you got shot. Your daughter's born on my mom's birthday. I mean, it's like we were destined to be linked up from the beginning, and we didn't even know it.
I know that's that's a miracle right there. So how can we reach you again, Chad, one more time before we wrap it up?
For the 700 Club episode is on YouTube at Chad and Chelsea Ganaway, Total Restoration. And then I'm on Instagram. Facebook's the best. That's where I have all the stuff I can share, the Holy Cow slideshow, and it's very powerful. Like it's very well done. It's really a really good watch for sure. So I can send everybody that on Facebook. So
let's go ahead and end with the prayer. Go ahead, Chad. You want to end it? Or you want me to do it, brother?
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, let's go ahead and.
Father God, we just thank you for this time, Lord. We thank you for this platform for us to get our stories out, Lord God, into this world. Me and Eric both understand that this world needs stories like ours because there's a lot of not positive things, and you've done a lot of positive things in our lives. So we just pray that you will open ears, Father God, to hear what we had to say, Lord, that maybe some people that are like us out there that think God can't do something for them, maybe that they'll hear this and that they'll know that they're redeemable just like we were, Lord. Thank you for this time. Thank you for our friendship, and thank you for everything you've done for us in Jesus' name. Amen.
It's all about redemption, baby. I thank you, Chad, and for everyone out there, y'all can subscribe to our YouTube, Twitch, Spotify, and also our Instagram as well. Also on TikTok as well. You can also see it. Thank you, and everyone have a blessed day. Thank you. Blindx out. Thank you.